Ronnie, you want to go to Rapala
Yeah,
Bassmaster
we
Fantasy
can do
Fishing
that.
Game?
Our 5 buckets, and this one is kind of just. I did never got comfortable selecting my 5-man lineup. Like I'm still
Couldn't get
looking
in a
over
good
it right now.
rotation. Timing was
I
off. I
couldn't
mean,
get in
all
a
the
good
things.
rotation. Like it just feels weird. I never could settle down, in an area, and I just spent all day running. But we can get into our Rapala Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing picks. I need you to actually go first for bucket A, and then yeah, give me your A through E lineup. I'll give you my A through E, and then we'll discuss each bucket.
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say my lineup is not all that exciting. I went pretty high percentage on all five of the picks. I
I did
like the
not, so I mean, we can critique because I'm a little puzzled I don't want to overthink it, but boy, like it's, I don't feel good about chalk here like I did at Hartwell. So that's why I'm not trying to overthink it, but I'm also trying not to just go with the easiest picks.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I just think that there are guys in each bucket that it's just hard to imagine they would do super poorly. I mean, obviously you say that. I mean, obviously Lee Livesay the last time we were there finished in the 80s. So I mean, it can happen anywhere. We obviously know that. But yeah, super not exciting lineup. But we'll go not exciting in the sense of like there's not any super low percentage guys on my team. Again, I like the lineup. That's why I've got them picked. But bucket A, Lee Livesay. Pretty easy to explain there. Brandon Palaniuk in bucket B. Bucket C, I have Easton Fothergill. So I'm making it up to him and his dad in the Rapala game and
Don't
not
be
someone
peer
else
pressure.
pick
Don't
him.
be peer pressure.
No, I really do think it sets up well. I think he is absolutely on a heater. And at this point, it's hard to pick against him. Bucket D, Stetson Blaylock. Obviously, talked a good bit about him. And bucket E, I am selling out for there being some shallow water power fishing. I am going Greg Hackney. Certainly a bunch of guys in bucket E you could go with that should set up extremely well at Lake Fork. But
Are we just gonna lock in Hackney for you and Bucket E the rest of the year if he doesn't move and stays there?
there's been a couple tournaments, in fairness, I have not picked him, but I have picked him in far more tournaments than I have not.
I don't
And
think that's true. I think you pick him every week.
I
No, I'm
didn't
just
pick
kidding.
him in
Yeah,
Hartwell.
I know
I
you
didn't
didn't pick
pick
him
him in
every week.
Hartwell. I know at least for sure because I wanted to give him a break because I thought at a certain point I'm like maybe I'm the bad luck. I got to stop picking him. Um, but we're right back on board this week. He is on the roster and yeah, I can't get away from it. I mean, I got confidence in Greg Hackney before every single tournament. If it doesn't go his way, it didn't go his way. But like I'm just that confident that he's going to catch him just about everywhere we go. He's had a really good track record at Lake Fork, consistent tournaments. So yeah, I'm going Hackney. So again, bucket A, Lee Livesay, bucket B, Brandon Palaniuk, bucket C, Easton Fothergill, bucket D, Stetson Blaylock, and bucket E, Greg Hackney.
Well, you saved all the low percentage guys for me, and
Can take them.
I seemingly have picked some. So bucket A, it hits you right in the face quick. I did not pick Lee Livesay, like just 48%. I said this last time.
Buddy, last time
This
you
is
didn't
pissing
pick
me off. I
Last
know.
time you didn't pick Lee Livesay, he won the tournament.
I know. But then
So
I
don't,
picked him last year with 93% of y'all, and I didn't, and he didn't make the cut. He got like 80th. So I'm like, that's why like it's the game of like, do you just pick him because you need to pick him, or there are other guys that are doing well and could do well this week. And so I did not pick Lee Livesay here. I do have him for Drain the Lake. I do trust him to do well. Um, but I have Seth Feider in bucket A. I feel like that shallow time this time of the year just I feel like it's a good fighter time of the year. He's had decent results at Fork in the past. I'm going with him at point 0.8.
always
Um,
been a good shad spawn guy too. Like seems to always
Absolutely,
capitalize on a shad
which is
spawn. Like if there's
weird
ever
because they
one.
don't have shad in Minnesota to spawn, so he never has practice back home. But at least he's not at home during the shad spawn. He's down here. But yeah, I'm going with Fighter because of that. I mean, I could look at a Cox. You could look at a Palmer. Walters is in this bucket. Walters is severely underchosen percentage wise in not only fantasy and Drain the Lake this week. But I'm going fighter. Um, bucket B, David Gaston. Bucket C, Scott Canterbury. Bucket D, Dakota Ebare. And bucket E, Kenta Kimura. So let's talk about that just a little bit. I know we might have explained briefly, but yeah, Fighter over Livesay. I just, Trey is at 26%, and that's two dudes taking up, 70 something percent. I just looking at that, I can't give it to Livesay from my team. I know he's going to do well most likely. This is the time of month, a time of year that he should do well. I think the Fighter's also going to do well. So I got to make up some ground as well. I'm at 89%. I'm not super bad in fantasy, but I want to jump into the 90s. I could roll with the flow of everybody else and hope he does well. But also picking Fighter could give me a great jolt if he's close to Livesay in the standings. So that's why I went Fighter. Um, who was your bucket A? Oh, you went Livesay, so that doesn't need to be explained, right?
No, I don't feel like it needs to be explained. To me, it's just too big of a risk not to pick him. I think I've said that just about every single
No.
year. Even though the percentages are a little more dispersed this year, I certainly think Lee Livesay this time of year, really any time of the year, I'm going to be confident he'll do well at Lake Fork.
I'm genuinely
So
irked right now. I'm literally frustrated, like mad, because of it's so straightforward, yet fishing's not straightforward. So, um,
yeah, it certainly never is, and that's the thing that makes this super fun because it is very hard to predict.
and you know how many
Bucket
people have watched the 2021 and 2022 Elite Series events? Like that I know this week have rewatched them. So if those areas that he knows and has done well in those shallow areas, like everybody knows everything now at Fork. So I hope Livesay
Well,
has
we've
some
also
stuff
just
saved
been
up.
there. We've just been there enough times to where I
Yes,
feel like
yes.
anybody that has fished there in previous Elite Series tournaments, certainly you're going to have a better grasp on any body of water you've gone to before. But when we've gone there as many times as we have, and the fact that it's not that big of a lake, like certainly running out of secrets on on a place like Lake Fork.
Like I just keep thinking Robert G is going to be on a spot and Livesay's going to be like, "Where'd you find this?" And he'll be like, "I saw James Caldmeyer guiding here." Like, no, this is a Lee Livesay spot, like the St. Lawrence River thing happened. But so bucket B, I've got David Gaston, and you may wonder why I went point one. I didn't even look at the percentage for Gaston, but I was like, man, he's also another swim jigger, shallow water guy. This time of the year, not afraid to throw a top water and a worm, and and really cover some ground. And so I think that he could do well with that. I didn't trust the Hamner percentage. I think that's a fake percentage, 24%. I say fake meaning like we're so gung ho on his giant that he caught last year and he got a top 10. It's different. February's just different. So I don't even take yet last year into account. Picking David Gaston though. Stylistically, I like it. I couldn't really get comfortable with Chris or Corey Johnston, Jordan Lee. How do I justify Justin Atkins, even though I think he's a good early post spawn angler, but he just got a top 10 there in February. I'm not picking it because of that. You're just trying to ride that edge. Brandon Palaniuk, how will he do? That type of stuff. But yeah, I'm going with David Gasson, and I'm getting more and more okay with that.
Sounds like you're overthinking it. Bucket C,
Yeah. No, who was your B?
Brandon Palaniuk.
Oh, okay.
I certainly believe not just based on history. Again, it's more just like a style thing. Like we've seen him really capitalize on a shad spawn bite plenty of times throughout the course of his career. We obviously know how good he is at fishing offshore, utilizing his electronics that way, deep cranking, you know, big bait guy. I mean, everything about Lake Fork sets up well for Brandon Palaniuk, and I think his results certainly show. So for me, I understand Palaniuk is certainly at a pretty high player percentage at 21.5. Not the highest in the bucket behind Justin Hamner, but yeah, Brandon Palaniuk seems like just timing wise, um, certainly could be a big time event for him.
Bucket C, I chose Scott Canterbury, so I got two Coosa River guys, and fighters done well in the Coosa, like that type of fishing this time of the year. Same train of thought. I think that it could be a lot of good finishes could come from that dirt shallow to 8 foot range, and so some of my picks are in that range for that reason. Maybe dirt shallow to 10 foot range, something like that. That is a wider variety of depths, but Canterbury in there Didn't really find anybody in bucket C that I was convinced was going to catch him. You still got some second year guys. You got some Tennessee River guys. You got some Jighead Minnow guys that I don't know if that's going to be a deal. Like you just not classifying them. That's the only thing they do. But when I think of them, I think of that technique. You've got a Combs. Is he going to channel his good history here in the past? Going to have some mojo because he's coming off the Pasca tank and some decent finishes this year, just outside the classic range or just inside the classic range this year so far. Christie, I think he'll beat um, Zaldane for Pick'em, but I didn't pick him over Canterbury.
Yeah, so bucket C, obviously, I agree with a lot of things you just said there, but it does scare me a little bit. Obviously, Easton, that pick is basically primarily based on momentum, and I just think that time of the year. We saw what he did at Ray Roberts. He's just going to be a force to be reckoned with anytime the fish get offshore. We obviously know how good he is with his forward-facing sonar and his electronics. I just think that he's got so much momentum rolling into this. You got to feel like there's nobody that feels better than Easton Fothergill does right now. Now, it does scare me, of course, that he is at such a high player percentage and he's never fished a tournament at Lake Fork. That's what scares me to death. But again, I think based on momentum alone, hard to go against Easton Fothergill right now. Bucket D, surprised you didn't go with Blaylock in Bucket D. I did for the same reasons that we already discussed in the podcast, but not going with Stetson Blaylock.
Yeah, I had Dakota Ebare since the beginning, since this came out. It's not his home lake. He's a Rayburn guy, but man, something about Ebare in Texas, like it's channeling on the Keith Combs reputation. Could have gone to any lake in Texas that he's never been to, and Combs is going to catch a bag like back in the day. And I feel like that's right now Dakota. He hadn't really fished great in the elites this year. Kind of been a ho hum, not too strong of a start. But I expect this one to be a big one for him. We could see him in the top 10 for the first time. And so, yeah, I went with him here. He was the highest percentage guy I've picked. He's in here with Ben Milliken. And obviously, we know Ben Milliken's style of fishing lends itself to doing very well this week with big baits. This one was kind of you got to go with you got to go with the history here. I will say I almost picked Hank Cherry at point 0.4. And what tells me that is I remember maybe it was 2021 that he stayed for like a week after the Elite Series event there because he was like, where do these fish go when they're not on the bed? Like when they leave the bed, where do they go? And he stayed for a week and fished fork. And you never know in the moment if it doesn't benefit you the next time you're going, you're like, oh, it was a waste of time. I shouldn't have done that. You never know when it could benefit you that you did that. It's always good, especially if you're an angler who has a good memory of just understanding the fishery a little bit better. And so I wouldn't be shocked if Hank Cherry at 0.4% comes out guns blazing and catches them this week just based off of some stuff he learned and stuff he knew from the last time he stayed an extra week. I think it was 2021, maybe it was 2022, but I believe it was after 2021.
So Bucket E, again, I've got Greg Hackney selling out for the shallow bite there. Again, I really do hope that plays a big role just because
My
you
team's screwed if it does not, Kyle.
yeah, I hear that. I certainly think it will, but you just know anytime you get to the post-spawn period, especially on a place like Fork where the offshore bite is so strong. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that there's definitely going to be, guys doing both. But for my shallow taste, I'm going Greg Hackney and Bucket E. This is going to be the week. He's going to turn around. We're all going to be pumped. And yeah, so I'm going Greg Hackney and Bucket E.
Speaking of a heater, I picked Kenta Kimura. And Kent, that's a smoking joke if you don't know. Kenta, big bait guy, glide baits, crazy top waters. Um, Man, this is the place to bring him out. We always see Zaldane posting big baits on his Instagram stories and things like that. But Kenta is also when we talk about the Japanese anglers, like we've mentioned before in the past, when you think about Japanese anglers, you may think finesse, spinning rod, light line, tackle like that, fishing deep. Kenta's not that. He is opposite of that. He is a big bait, bigger line type of guy. And there was a year stretch there where he was cashing every check and doing very well everywhere we went. Got off of it last year and wasn't doing as great, and then not doing great to start the year. Streaky guy, but with this event coming up this week, and then you've got 10 Killer in Oklahoma for the June event. Before we go up to the last two, I think the recipe is still there that Kenta could end up having a good second half of the season and maybe making a charge for that classic spot. And so it has to start here. And so there's some urgency. I mentioned that at the live well, talked about Matt Robertson and Kenta Kimura, two guys who big bait profiles, go for it type of mentality, and they had to have it this week. They have the urgency. I got to catch them, and stylistically it lines up well for them. So Kenta Kimura in my bucket E. Man, if we mentioned it. If you're in bucket E, last event, you needed to catch them. If you're still in bucket E, like you got to start reeling off four of your best finishes you've had if you want to make the classic. So,
Yeah, absolutely, definitely the
or
case.
win the last event.
That'll do it too. Falcon rods, Bassmaster Drain the Lake Challenge.
What was your
Uh,
winning weight? What do you have for winning weight? Did you type one in?
prob Probably too low. I'm going a little lower than normal. I say normal, like definitely less than 24. I'm going 110.8.
Okay. I got 115.3. So,
And I'm almost always low. So again, I hope that I'm wrong in the sense that it's much higher, but I'm going a little lower than maybe some of the years past.
I want to see what I chose last week for Hartwell because we were talking about how good it was fishing, but it still came up short of
I
Cobb's weight from 2019.
I
And
think we were both high on
we
that.
were
I'm
high.
almost
I was
certain of it.
10 pounds high. Yeah, I thought we'd see
Getting back to your old ways.
a little bit more big largemouth on the bed for some of our top guys, which obviously Cook was holding serve and Randy Howe. But